Okay. The Gemara says, Dilma loyi. There's no absolute necessity for us to say that the machlokas is the same machlokas. Ad kan lekam Rabbi Eliezer hasam. You know why Rabbi Eliezer over there says that he can pick up the paya for an ani, for a specific ani? The migu the iboy mafkilu nechase bahava ani v'chasile. You know, being in the status of povertyhood, the way Chazal understood it is different. Anybody at any moment could become an ani. I could declare all my assets to be hefker. I am mafkir all my assets. So I'm not the owner of it anymore. Therefore, I have no assets. Therefore, I qualify as an ani. Therefore,
I would say it's not a good migui. What? It's impossible. It's never going to happen. Well, how can you say this is a migui when a situation will never happen? No one
is going to happen. It is going to happen. Remember, we had many cases. Remember, we had a person owes money to somebody, or he owes money to the Hegdish. So he's mafkir his asset. You have no assets anymore. Remember, there's shibud, and I'm mafkir. So somebody has a lien on his property. I'm mafkir my property. It doesn't belong to me.
Yeah, but
he wants to ruin somebody.
Yeah, but he's not. Here is a case where he, in order to pick up the paya, he's going to be mafkir all his. It says he's a rich man. He's got to mafkir for it. I mean, it's almost impossible situation.
But since it's
theoretically, yeah. But
so the Migo works like this. Since it's theoretically possible for him to become an ani, and then he would be roy to pick up the paya. Let's see the Migu. Migu di boy mafkilu l'chasim avi ani v'chazi lei. Migu de zachi lei l'nafshe zachi l'chavre. Since he could technically pick it up for himself, he could pick it up for the other ani. Aval hacha, but by a toifus l'bal chayv lo. That because I'm ruining it for other people. And we could say the other way. Ad kan l'kam rabbanan hasam. You know why the chachamim disagree with Rabbi Eliezer and say that I can't be zoicha the paya for an ani? Because there's a pasuk. Zeres hakasuk t'chsiv lo salakei le'ani. That means lo salakei lo le'ani. The ani himself has to pick it up himself. It's Zeres hakasuk. Alav hacha. But by being taught this the balchol, there's no Zeres hakasuk that says I can't do it lo. So the Gemara deflects the attempt to equate the machlokas between Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim to this machlokas regarding toifus labal. So Rabbi Eliezer, what does he do? Rabbi Eliezer allows the person to pick up the paya and give it to the ani. What does Rabbi Eliezer do with this pasuk? Lo salakid my avidle. Boy lay lahazir lo ani al shalo. Wow. If an ani has his own field, he's not eligible to take paya from that field. Now, I was looking in Rishonim. Now, there is a minimum asset requirement. I think you have to, if you have less than 200 zuz, you're an ani. How could somebody be an ani and own a field?
Because the field's losing him money.
Maybe it's a very
he's cash poor. He's got all of his assets invested in real estate, and it's just not producing, and he has no spare cash. So
even though he has a field,
that's not a definition of an ani. That's not a definition of an ani. That's not a definition of an ani.
Why?
Has assets because he has assets. Could be that an ani owns that field. The field's not producing anything, and just on the side of it, there's a bit of paya or something comes up. But it has to be that.
But the field
but
has.
He could sell the field. So I think the definition of an ani must be that you can't liquidate it. You can't liquidate it right now for whatever reason. So it's an illiquid asset.
I can tell you, once a guy owed me money, so he brought me a deed of trust for a piece of property. I went to look at the piece of property. The property is rocks on a hill. It's worth zero. It's nothing. It's worth zero. So
that's what I was learning pshat like that.
Yeah,
but
if it's a field where there's rock, there's no payout. There's nothing
Could
growing.
be could be on the side. It grows a bit of something could grow. That's what. It's a theoretical question. It's not a. It's not a. I'm not sure if it's
Okay,
what.
right.
I'm just
You
telling
see-
you that an ani can't use the extra payer for himself. Belongs to other people. That's the din of payer. That's all.
But I just thought it was unusual that you could own a field and still be considered an oni.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
But maybe there's no bias for the field, and the field is
Right. It's illiquid. There was
It's not, no, it's nothing to
earthquake.
do with illiquid. It's just there's no bias at the moment.
There's no value to it.
But
It's in the middle of nowhere.
no,
They have no value.
it could,
Nobody would
no,
pay
it
anything
could be
for
at the moment. It could be at the moment you got a mortgage on it. You became an ani from the mortgage, and you became an ani. You still own it. The bank didn't take it back.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the Gemara says, "She'im yirtzeh shelo lozu." There is a din in owning an eved that you don't have to feed him. Shma mina sheyachol harav loimer le'eved aseh imi ve'eni zancha. Work for me. I don't have to feed you. Is that true? The Gemara says there's no proof. Hacha b'mayaskina in our Mishnah. I'm not going to feed you. You work, make profit, and you buy your food. We don't learn from our Mishnah that the master can completely abandon his eved
Then he's not a din of an
and
eved.
force him to work and not feed him.
But
The
that's
Gemara
not a din of an
trying to find proof.
Ernie, that's not a din of an eved.
Yeah, an eved Knani.
Every Kanani, right?
Come on,
So-
Eved
Eved Kirani. Okay.
We're talking about an eved Knani. So if that's the case, the kavose legabi isha. Whenever you have a mishnah and you ask a kasha and you metaritz the kasha with creating a certain situation, which we did here, we try usually the whole mishnah has to follow the same pattern. So that's what the Gemara is doing here. We just said the case of our Mishnah is a case where he told the Eved, you work for yourself and you feed yourself. So that must be the same with the woman in our Mishnah. You work and you feed yourself with the proceeds of your work. The problem is you're not allowed to do that. The ksuba prevents you because you have a choiva from the ksuba to be mofarnis your woman. So the Gemara says, "Amaylo." Who says you can come up with this kind of arrangement with your wife that because normally you get the Maisiya diet of your wife, so you can say keep your Maisiya diet and buy your food. You can do that. It's mutter to make that kind of agreement with the wife. So Isha Bishalo Savka. We're talking about a case where the woman didn't produce enough finances to provide food for hers. Then the Baal cannot not pay the difference. He has to pay the difference based on the ksuba. So maybe therefore as well, the case of the Eved in our Mishnah is not maybe the loy something. That when he told him, go work for yourself and buy your own food, perhaps he couldn't make enough, but yet it is proof to our Shaila, and perhaps the master of an Eved can tell him, I don't have to feed you anyways, even though you don't have enough money for food. So there is a raya that maybe asay imi ve'eni zancha works. So the Gemara says, Avda denom karsei lo shavya lemor lamati l'may nitna. Why would you buy such an Eved who cannot even work enough to bring in enough to feed himself? He's a loser for you. You would never own such an Eved.
Can a man tell
make
his
enough
wife
to feed himself and profit that you're gonna. Otherwise, you would never buy an Eved.
Can a man tell his wife to go to work? Can force his wife to work? If she doesn't want to work, he still has to feed her.
He
This is
made a deal by saying you provide your parnasa by your earnings, and let's say she doesn't make enough, then the husband has to provide.
But that she doesn't want to work altogether. Can you force her to work?
He doesn't have to. No,
And he still has to feed her.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So
If
this
she
is what we're
does
talking
work,
about.
if she
Yeah.
does work,
Then he can, she, yeah,
those assets go to him
yeah,
in return for them, but he can't force her.
yeah.
Toshma. Eved. Eved Shagala. Eved killed somebody b'shogeg, and he has to run to an ear mikla. Ein Rabbi Chayiv l'zoynei. His master doesn't have to provide food for him there. V'la'od el shemai sheyadav, if he works in the Ari Mikla, it also goes l'rabbi. From here it seems, Shma mina, sheyachal harav loymer le'eved haseimi v'eni zancha. So from this paraisa, it does seem clear that a master can make his eved work and not feed him. The Gemara says there's no proof. He said you work and you buy your food with what you work. So
Ernie, just I just want to know that obviously it's a chidush that an Eved Knani can go to Era Miklat.
an Eved Knani performs all mitzvahs like an Isha.
Right.
Like the same, like a mitzvahs she'ein hazman grama. Same. Any mitzvah that so all the lavim, a woman is required to live by all the lavim that we have, and any mitzvah saseh that's not a mitzvah saseh shazman grama, an Eved Knani has to perform. So if he kills b'shogeg, he can run to an Ari Miklat and save himself. Okay, so the Gemara wanted to say there's no proof here that you can force him to work without food, because this was a case where you said you work and keep your food. Iachi, Maisi Yadav, Amaila Rabbi, but the Brisa clearly said that his earnings go to the master. And the way you're setting up is he can keep his own earnings. So the Gemara says, La Dofa. Means, let's say the amount of food that he needs per week is $100, and he earns $120. So the $100 that he needs for his food, he buys for his food, and the extra 20 goes to the master, the profit. So Adafa, Pshita. Well, who else should that belong to? He's an Eved. You have to come and tell me a Chiddush that the Adafa goes to the master. You have to say the Baraisa that it goes to the Rabba. Of course it goes to the master. Maybe we would say a svara that he's supposed to earn $100 to cover his food expenses, but he only earns 80. The master doesn't have a responsibility to make up the difference. So maybe because the master doesn't have to make up the difference, it's not like a woman. This is an Eved. He doesn't have to fulfill the difference. So maybe since he loses there, maybe he gets the profit. Kamashbul, like lishko minei. So ki isle nami lo lishko minei. So just like maybe the master doesn't have a right there either, kamashbul, and that he does. He gets the profit above the minimum that the Eved has to make for his food. Now, the Gemara wants to know, why did you have to set up this case to be in an Ari Mikla? Umayshal Ari Mikla, it means, what did running to the Ari Mikla make a difference? It's in any case, the master can say, keep your earnings and feed yourself, and I'll make the profit. Well, what's the din of Ari Mikla? It says, Vochai. It says the pasuk like this: V'nas elachat harim ha'el v'chai, and the one who kills b'shogeg runs to a city and he shall live. So Ovid Lechiyus at Fei. Since the Torah said, Chai, maybe the din is different than Ari Miklat. And maybe you do have to provide food for him, even for the profit. Kamash Malon, that no. That means the profit still goes back to the master. Break the Gemara, V'amadik Tani Seifa, Aval Isha Shagol Sula Ari Miklat. Now, we haven't quoted the full brisa. The end of the brisa says that if a woman kills B'shogeg and runs to an Ari Miklat, by l'chayv imzonaseh. It's not like all of a sudden the ksuba turns off. The husband is required to provide the mezonos while she's living in the ir mikla. Michlal shelo omer la. We're not talking about a case where he told her, "Oh, you keep your earnings." No, we're talking about a case where he's providing the mezonos. The Iyamar Labaila, if the husband had said, you keep your earnings, then am I chayav? Why is he responsible to pay for it? And umi the seifa shaloi amar la, and if the seifa by the woman is a case where he didn't tell his wife that she could keep her earnings, reisha nami shaloi amar la, the reisha which was talking about the eved must also be a case where he didn't say, go work and you can keep it. And therefore, we're back to the baraisa being a proof to a master being allowed to tell his Eved, you work for me, I don't have to feed you. So the Gemara says, no, lo'olam to amarle. He told his wife as well, you can keep your earnings and you buy your food with them. And he said it to the Eved. Now, the Isha was a case, but the loisafka. Why did it say that the Baal has to provide mezonos? Because her food requirement was $100 a week, and she only earned $80 a week. So he has to make up the difference, which is not the case by the Eved. The safe of that brisa says that if the husband says, "See, my say that that you can now work for yourself and feed yourself," Rishai is permitted. Michlal must be that the Reisha, the case of the Eved, or the case of even the wife, Shalom, was not a case where he said, again, we're back to using the Baraisa as support to our concept that maybe you can have an Eved work for you without feeding him. Where says, no. Hachi Kamar. This is how you have to understand the Baraisa. The Imaspekes. She makes enough. The Omar law, as long as it's maspekes, as long as she can meet the nut. Frankly, more maspekes what the chiddush is. There's no responsibility of the husband if she can earn $100, needs $100. Well, what halach are you telling me here? And it makes no difference whether she's run away to an ear miklat or not. A husband has to provide his wife no matter where she is. So the Gemara says it's more like this. Ma'u the same kol kvuda bas melech pnima. A woman's place is in the home. Her kavod is in not to go out and work. And maybe in a near miklat especially, the Baal has to worry for her parnasa and keep her in the house there. And only do work in the house. Kamash Malon, that there is no kapeda for that. Even in Ir Miklat, he can tell her, go to work. Okay. So far, we have not been able to find proof to this notion that a master can have an Eved work for him and not feed him. So now the Gemara is going to say, Lema Ketanoi. Let us say that this issue is a machlokes tanoim. What Rav Shimon ben Gamliel oimer? Yachola Eved loimer leraboy b'shani batzoyras o parnaseni o hotziena lechemus. The Eved can tell his master in times of famine, feed me or free me. The Chachamim oimrim, harishus biyad rabbi. The master can still keep him in his rishus, not free him, and not feed him. And my love b'hakamiflagi. Mar Savar, the Chachamim, said Yochel, that the master has the right to tell his Eved that he works for him, but he doesn't have to feed him. And therefore there's no chiyuv to free him. And Umar, that means Rav Shimon Gamliel Savar, ain't a Yochel. So the Gemara says, V'tizbara, can you explain that way? Hi, this language of O Parnaseni, O Tzianu Lecherus, that's not the appropriate wording. It would say, O Parnaseni, you feed me directly, or Tainli Maisiyadai B'Parnasim Aboyle, or let me keep that which I earn through my work and feed myself with that. Why should the alternative be free me? No, it should be let me keep my wages. V'od Maishna b'shani batzaris. Why is it only dafka in a period of famine? The machlokes should be anywhere, even when there's normal times. Ela hachma yaskinon she'omer lo tzei ma'asedach l'mezonasai. He told the Eved, keep your earnings and buy food. But ubishani batzaris lo sapek. But when there's no food to be found, he couldn't buy enough food for himself through what he earned. Because prices are high, and the amount you pay an Eved is not enough. So Rav Shimon Gamliel Savar, then Rav Shimon Gamliel can understandably says, O Parnaseni, O Hotziana Lecheres, Yehecha de Chazuli Inshim Rachman Alai. Listen, you give me the difference in terms of food that I need to survive, or free me. Right now, nobody's giving me tzedakah because I'm your Eved. At least let me become a free person. I can go and beg at the doors, and people will have rachmanis on me and help me. But the Rabbanon Savri, that's not enough of a svara to free him. Man de barachim abnei chori, I have rachmim. That just like people have mercy on a free person, they have mercy on an Eved as well. So there's no raya anymore from this machlokes tanoi that we wanted to create, that a master can have his Eved work for him and not feed him. Toshma, she'omar Rav, a magdish yidei avdo, a person declared that any monetary value that his Eved produces goes to Hegdish. Therefore, the Eved cannot work for himself. So how does he feed himself? Also, Eved love the ochel. He can borrow money, buy food, and then oisa upoireya. Then he's going to have to work, make some profit, and pay back the money that he borrowed. Shmamina. It seems like we have a source now again from a baraisa. Because by saying all of his ma'aseh yadayim should go to Hegdish, he's wiped out his ability to earn for himself, and still he doesn't have to feed him. So the Gemara says, no, it's not approved. Hochma eskinon malo mezainos. In this case, the master is feeding the Eved. We said that the Eved, in order to feed himself, is borrowing money and eating. If the master's feeding him, why is he borrowing? And for the Gemara Ladafa, he wants to eat more. He's a big eater. So to the extra food that he likes to eat, he's borrowing. Hegdish is going to say, what do you mean? Up until now, you used to eat not this extra amount. you can live without the sadafa now as well, now that you're working for us. Why dafka? Because you're working for us now. You want, and therefore the hegdish should be chal even on that extra stuff. So the Gemara says, no, hegdish gufen ichalek. This guy, by eating a lot, is being a bigger eved, which is more valuable for hegdish in terms of the work he can do. The Gemara asks another question on this brisa. It said, how does he pay back the loan? Oisa upoireya. How could he be oisa upoireya? Kama kadishle. Every little bit that he's earning, we just said, everything that he earns belongs to hegdish. So where's the profit for him to be able to pay back the guy that he borrowed from, that he's borrowing money to buy food? The pachas mishava pruta. That the work that he's doing is worth less than shava pruta, and hegdish is not chal on something less than shava pruta. And hochanami mistavra. The Amar Rava magdish idei avdo, because Rav said that if a person uttered a hegdish statement that everything that his eved earns should go to hegdish, osa eved osa v'ochel, that eved can work and eat. The ilo of the man polachle. Who's going to work for him? What's going to eat? So according to Rav, the hegdish isn't. It's not a complete chalois on the hands of his eved. Now, iyamit bishma hach. So if Rav believes that the eved can borrow and pay back, and the case is b'maila, and the master is paying mezoinos, she'ena yochol, because the master doesn't have the legal right not to feed him, v'ha b'she'ena maila, and when the master is not giving him mezoinos, and therefore he cannot physically be magdish the day evet shapir. So Rav is consistent. But amrid, b'she'ena maila, that one case is talking about where the master is not providing food, and the hegdish is chal, because yachol, because you have the master has the right to have him work for him and not feed him. The ilo of the man palachle. So then we have this issue that we said, well, who's gonna feed him if not the Eved himself? Manda by niflacha, who's gonna take care of him? Ela lav shmamina. So it's clear from here that Rav holds eino yochol, that a master cannot tell his Eved to work for him and not feed him. Shmamina, you have a good raya. The Shulchan Aruch says, Yesh oimrim, she'adon yochel loimer le'eved knani asei mivein izanach. Only in regular years, not in years of famine. In non-famine years, where there's people are not going to be merachim on him, you can. The Rif and the Rambam didn't argue. Now there's a Baraisa that seems to support what we just said. I'm going to stop here today. I'm going to stop by this Baraisa that supports the new concept. And then tomorrow's a small blot. We'll be able to finish both Yud Beis and the full Yud Gimel tomorrow.
Shkarach Ernie, shkarach everybody.
Everybody have a great week.
Tomorrow is
Tomorrow is Surbim Rabbanon at 8:15, and then the Daf at 9:00.
all right.
All right.
Shkoyach.